boost up more. So this health and safety, it's basically a very practical knowledge. It's our everyday job. It's our daily life practice. In our homes, when we have kids, we are not the safety officer in our home. We are not the safety manager in our home. But this is from the nature by our God that we have the sensor available in our minds that whenever the things become terrible, whenever we think that this action or this activity can cause me or my family or my friends some injury or hurting, I'm going to stop it. For example, if your kid of or your child is going to put his or her finger on an electrical socket, you are going to stop her. You are not a safety officer. You don't have the safety management system available at your home, but this is a sensor in your own mind. This is a sensor in your own brain, which makes you pop up, which makes you alarm that you have to stop him or her, right? Because as a human, we are the most valuable creation on the earth. And even not only the human, if any of the animal, if any of the pet, they are going to be injured, we feel sympathy for them. So don't think that health and safety is a rocket science. Don't think that health and safety, to learn health and safety, you need to have number of years. This is basically very practical and something which you are going to apply since long time. For example, when you are going to your company or your university in the morning, you are going to prepare yourself and then you take the transport and then you are going, right? So basically you are doing your planning and you are applying this planning as a part of implementation. So if you are going in a safe transport, you feel safe, but if you are going in a transport which is unsafe, so what we are going to feel that I'm unsafe. This is by default in our software, which the God has created inside our human mind, a software that whenever you are unsafe, whenever you are feeling that I'm unsafe, for the time being, you will feel the fear, right? You will get the pop-up. But after that, it's your own choice to decide whether to allow the controls for this fear or whether to ignore. So most of the time, why we are getting the accident, that we are basically ignoring those pop-ups, those alarms which are coming in our minds. So sometimes these are very common things. Sometimes you are driving and you are using the mobile. Sometimes you are driving and you are doing the texting. So these things are very common nowadays all over the world. So many of the accidents are basically can be avoided by just taking a small care. But unfortunately, when the pop-up comes in our mind, we are not be able to focus on it and we ignore them, and this cause accident. So this is our theme of our today's webinar, that we need to focus on health and safety from very start, from very basic. I'm not going in depth. I'm not going to use the technical terminology. And but still, if there is any confusion, if there is any terminology which is unclear to you, you can ask me. And at the end of webinar, we will give you a good time to ask your questions and queries. So let's start with the slides. I hope you have already taken the attendance in all these things. So we can move further, right? Okay, so the global stats. Here are some global stats for you to see that ILO, International Labour Organization, it is an organization which is mainly sort of NGO, and they are working for the rights of labor for the workers. So it's an international organization from different countries. They are the member of this organization. Even your own country, wherever you are living, they will also be the member of ILO. So you can also check their website by ilo.org. So ILO estimates that approximately 2.3 million people around the world affect the work-related accident or disease. 2.3 million is too much. And for your information, this does not include the COVID situation. So now we will have more, right? And more than 2.73 deaths per year due to work-related accident. In our world, in our countries, in our cities, in our states, there are many deaths due to many reasons. Some people are dying due to heart attacks. Some people are dying in the hospitals on daily basis. Some people are dying due to the accidents on roads. There are some people are dying at their home. But we are talking about those people who are working, and during the work they got the accident or ill health problem, and then they are going to die. So this amount is like 2.73 deaths per year, which is too much. Then we have 2.73 million, right? And then we have 374 million non-fatal accident. Non-fatal accident, when we say that the accident is occurred, the accident is happened, but it causes maybe major injury or minor injury, but not the fatality or death. So this 374 millions are basically those accidents and injuries which are being carried out on yearly basis within our companies or within our workplaces. So this, all the data you can see in more detail. We have already written here the link, so you can go and you can read in detail, because really this data is shocking. Maybe you will come to know once or twice deaths within the companies or major accident on the media, but actually there are many deaths per day and there are many deaths per month and per year which the companies are having within their facility, and these are being monitored by ILO and they are reporting this on the annual basis, right? So who is responsible for safety? Many of you will say safety department. Many of you will say we are all responsible. Many of you will say I am the one who is responsible as a safety manager of my company. In actual, basically we are all responsible for safety. As I give you the example, if we are at our home or if we are at our site, it is my responsibility. It is our responsibility to have focus on safety. It is our responsibility to focus on the safety of ourselves, the safety of our colleagues, and safety of our co-workers wherever we are. Even if we are at home, if we are outside of our home, if we are in the company. And in our home, we are not the safety department. Sometimes we are following the safety because of the safety department. Sometimes we are following the safety because it is a requirement from the company. So that's why we need to focus on safety, because we need to consider that safety is my ethical responsibility rather than my company responsibility. If you are a safety officer or a safety engineer or a safety manager, but still you should have the responsibility because you have the common sense. As I told you, safety is all about the common sense. When you have the common sense, by the way, the common sense is not common, unfortunately. This is another thing. So if you have a common sense, if you are focused, if you are serious, so you will be taking care of safety. And safety is everyone's business. Safety is not one department or one person's job. This is, to say this is very easy, but to implement this in the company, it's not an easy task. It takes years and years for the companies to understand, to get the culture of safety. It took long time to the management to understand that safety is everyone's responsibility rather than only the safety manager or the safety department responsibility. So there are a number of benefits for the health and safety. What are these benefits? For example, if you have a safety system or health and safety system within your company, you will have definitely less accidents because you are going to train your people, you are going to train your staff, you are going to train your management on different aspects of safety. So definitely when we have the safety system, we have less accidents and we have our staff commitment is going to be increased. Our staff is going to be more motivated. For this, we need to understand, for example, you are working in a group, right? Group of people within one department, and one of your colleague is going to have the injury, a bad injury, due to which he is hospitalized. So the next day, when you are going towards your company, and while you are driving or while you are in the car before reaching the company, it comes in your mind that I'm going in the same company and I'm going to perform the same task which my other colleague was performing. So what will be the impact in your mind? All your motivation is going to be lost. All your productivity is going to be lost. You will be negative towards the company, that see, my company, they don't protect us, they don't give us any facility for health and safety. Yesterday my colleague has got badly injured, and today I'm also doing the same job, so maybe today I will get the injured. So when this thought will come in your mind, which means that now zero productivity, you will be going to the company just to pass your time and get your salary, but overall motivation, overall productivity is going to be reduced. And definitely each of the company or the workplace are having insurance. So when you have good safety system, when you have less accident, then you can ask your company that we need to have a good system of safety. That's why we are having less accidents, and due to less accident, the insurance premium is going to be reduced. What if you have an accident in your company and there are media cameramen outside of your company and they are reporting that this ABC company has a terrible accident, there is a gas leakage, and due to which 50 people have been injured, many of them are hospitalized. So what will be the impact on your business? So definitely it will be a very big slap on your business. It will be causing your business to stop, or maybe your purchase orders, your clients will not be happy with this. Nobody wants to work with a company who has bad reputation in the market, right? Like us, that we don't want to purchase anything from the companies who we know that who are producing the bad quality, because everyone they want to be safe. So definitely the clients, they are not going to trust. They are, maybe they will cancel the orders, maybe you will not be able to resume your business for couple of days or couple of weeks after this accident. So the overall coverage from media is very much negative, and bad reputation is going to be happening. At the same time, what will be the impact when your family is going to ask, when your cousin, your friends are going to be asked, oh, you are working in that company which has a lot of accidents, I've seen on the YouTube, or I received the video on my WhatsApp. So what will be the impact? Unfortunately, nowadays we are all uh, mashallah, we are all uh, media reporters. We are doing this activity free of cost. Whenever we see any of the negative thing, we are going to portray it. We are going to share it with all of our groups. We think that this is, sadqa jariya from us, that we need to share it. Ultimately, this is not a good practice. We need to first make research on the negative coverage of anything, and then once we are sure, then we should try to share. Otherwise, keep silent, it's much better. Don't give panic or fear to others. So our level of motivation is going to be lost when our family members, our colleagues, and our friends are going to ask such kind of information from us. So this is a very beneficial activity, that once we have the safety department available, when we have the safety systems available, to have the safety system, it is not a necessary requirement to have the safety department. You can make this responsibility for the quality people as well, just to make them train, or any other departments. We have seen many companies, especially Japanese companies, they have one safety in charge, or you can say one HSC leader, and this leader has a team from each department. For example, 2 persons from production, 2 persons from warehouse, 2 persons from quality. They are being trained on the safety requirements, and they are working as a team. So this person is going to create the policies and procedures, and his team is going to implement these things in their department, and Whenever there is any updation needed, whenever there is a training requirement, they are going to do this activity as a combined. So there are many benefits of health and safety. Keep in mind one thing, that the employers are not be able to understand the benefit of health and safety until unless someone is going to explain them. Whenever you are a manager or a managing director of a company, you didn't establish your company for the charity purpose, right? You establish your company for the business purpose. So whenever you are going to show them the safety performance to your top management, it is a necessary factor that you should show them in terms of finance, in terms of money, what you have saved or what you have reduced due to a good safety system. Unfortunately, we as a safety professionals, we are unable to show our top management that how much budget has been reduced due to less accidents, due to less physical injuries, or due to the absenteeism, reduction in the absenteeism of our employees. So that's why whenever we are going to meet our top management, we are going to ask for the budget. We are going to make complaints for the other departmental manager that he is not listening me, he is not listening safety, he is not cooperating. So that's why they are always going to ignore us. But at the same time, we need to focus on the budget. We need to focus on the finance, that we need to make the actions which are going to have impact within limited budget and limited resources. So there are a number of benefits on health and safety. If we are going to discuss for next 1 hour, still they are not going to be completed. So let's move to our some basic definitions. Why we are going to have you from very basic, so you can understand what we are going to discuss during the next slide. So health is basically the absence of disease or ill health. Whenever you are going to sick, which means that you are having ill health or you are going to have some disease. Safety is basically physical, for example injury. Whenever you have you are going to hit by something and you will get bleeding, so this is a physical injury, you are going to have the safety issues. Hazard, in Arabic we call it khatar, in Urdu or Hindi we call it khatra, right? Khatro ke khiladi. So all safety people are basically the khatro ke khiladi. So hazard is a source with the potential to cause harm. We need to understand that it's a source with a potential. When we say potential, it means that it is not necessary that it will make you harm, but it might be possible, it may be possible, it could be possible, but not necessary. For example, you are living in your home, and in your home there are two sockets which are hazards, right, which are damaged, but you are using them on daily basis. So it might be possible one day you will get electrical shock, but it might be possible since long time you are using them and you don't have any accident. So hazard, when we are going to identify hazard, we are not 100% sure that it will make the accident, but due to the physical state we can say that it is an hazard, there is a chance for accident. So when we say health, you know that some companies they have HSE system, some companies they are having safety system, but now the new terminologies which are coming for last 10 years is the HS, health and safety, which means that we need to focus on health, we need to focus on safety. Safety is physical phenomena and health is about ill health. For example, if you have high noise, so this will not cause you any injury, this will not cause you any fracture. So this is ill health problem. Whenever you are working in under direct sunlight, whenever you are working under extreme temperature like very cold or very hot, this is going to be the health problem rather than the safety problem. Unfortunately, still in health and safety field we don't have much awareness about the health. So in the companies when we are applying the safety system, so we focus on the safety rather than on health as well. You will find very good controls, risk assessment about the safety, but many of the companies, not all, but many of the companies, they are not focusing on the health issues. So you will find somewhere EHS, HSC, Nowadays, the terminology is like IMS, Integrated Management System, HSCQ, like we are HSCQ, Health, Safety, Quality, Environment. Sometimes you will listen QHSC, right? So these are all terminologies are having the same meaning. H means health, S means safety, A means environment, and Q means quality. So then we move to the risk. Risk is basically a combination of likelihood. When we say likelihood, which means how much is the chance that when we say that it's a hazard, so we need to ask the second question: is there a chance that I will get the accident or no? If the team who is performing the risk assessment, they will say no, there is not much chance. So we will be considering as medium risk or low risk. So how much is the chance and the severity? So if this hazard is going to have an accident, if you will get injured or you will get ill health issue, so what will be the impact? You will have major injury or minor injury or medium injury, you will have fatality, you will have minimum impact on your ears, or you will get you will lose your hearing power. So what kind of impact you are going to have is the our severity. So risk is a combination of two terminology mainly. Always remember a likelihood or the chance, and the severity. Severity in Urdu we call it shiddat, in Arabic we call it shidda. So how much is the chance, and if this accident is going to happen, then what will be the loss? Okay, so this is our risk. And then we have the terminology called workplace, the place where you are working. It could be your company, your production department. If you are working in an office, it could be your office. Nowadays we have all our offices at our home. So our home is basically, or the place where we have fixed for the work is our workplace. So it is not necessary that it will always be a table and chair, but if you are working in the field, so your field area is basically uh, is basically your workplace. So now we need to know the major standards which are being used in the throughout the world. There are major standards. For example, OSHA is the legal requirement of USA. This is one of the most popular standard regarding to health and safety. And frankly speaking, here in our uh, Saudi Arabia and Middle East, we follow OSHA standards most of the time, and they are very good standard. They give you very good requirements and to the point requirements, so there is no confusion. So OSHA is the USA based standard for health and safety. It is basically a legal requirement of USA. Then we have Health and Safety at Work Act, which is a UK based legal requirement, uh, which it was formed in 1974, and after that still the versions are coming. So these are very popular standards. These two standards are very popular standards throughout the world. Many countries who are under the influence of America, they follow OSHA standard, and many countries who are under the influence of Britishers, they follow UK based standard. And nowadays the things are getting more mature, so every country, they have their own legal requirements with regards to health and safety. Then we have, as we discussed in our first slide, International Labour Organization. They also have the health and safety standards. And then we have ISO 45000, which is also a management system standard for health and safety. Then we have British Standards Institute, which is a BSI institute, where they are also involved in the development of health and safety and many other standards. Then apart from these international standards, sometimes we also have the corporate based standards. For example, this SEDEX standard or SEMETA standard is basically safety and social compliance standard for Unilever, Nestle, and RB. This is not for their own companies. For their own companies, they have other standards which they have developed as a part of their corporate requirements. But for their vendors, for their suppliers, they have this SEDEX standard. And as an approved auditor for SEDEX, we do the audits for their vendors time to time. So basically, we are having many standards. According to your need, you can follow any of the standard. It depends. The most important thing for you to follow is your own legal law, which is the most important thing. And after that, you can adopt ISO standard, you can adopt OSHA or whatever standard you want to adopt, right? Now we will focus on our topic, which is ISO based standard, which is ISO 45000 standard. What is ISO? ISO is like International Organization for Standardization. It was formed in 1947, and up till now there are more than 21,000 standards have been published. The ISO is acting like a UNO, right? United Nations. Uh, they are also the NGO, and they also have the head office in Geneva, Switzerland. Like UNO, they have the head office in Geneva, Switzerland, and the member countries of the member of ISO are basically countries. Similarly, like UNO, the members are countries, not only the individuals. So countries are basically going to represent uh, through the people, and then they also have the technical committees who are involved in the development of standards. And time to time these technical committees are having meetup, and they are getting the feedback from different member countries about the standards. And then uh, when they think that there is a too much requirement now, so they start to develop the standards, and whenever the standards is already published, they are going to work on the updation of this standard. So this is a simple introduction about ISO and how they work. So when we are going to apply the management system, so the first thing we need to understand what is system, right? What is system? So system is the interconnection of components to achieve a given objective. For example, we have one strategic objective from the company, and the whole company is following the same objective. They are all putting their efforts to make this objective successful. So this could include your overall organization, resources, process, equipment, culture, people, and whatever policies and practices. But at the end of the day, the output will be focusing on the success of the organization. So sometimes you are going to say that we don't have any system. HSC manager is going to work in his own direction, quality manager is going to work in his own direction, uh, production manager is going to work in his own direction. So these are, so we most of the time we say that this company does not have system, or their system is not good. So in this case, what the thing is going to have, that whenever we have on the company level we don't have the system, we are getting the challenges. On the country level, when we don't have the system, we are getting the challenges. On the state level, when we don't have the system, people, they don't know how to act, how to react, how to perform, then we can have the challenges. So that's why we need to have the policies and procedures available. So everyone who is working in the company, who is working at their level, they will be following those policies and procedures. So then we can say that we have the system available. Then the next question comes regarding ISO 45000, that what is management system? Because ISO 45000 is not the technical standard, it's not the specification, it is not a standard for legal requirement, it is a management system standard. So what is a management system standard? Management system is the framework defining an organization policies, goals, objectives, procedures, which are implemented, maintained, and improved. To be the system, we need to have the policies and procedures available who are going in the direction of the company objective. But to be the management system, we don't only need to have these policies and procedures available, but rather these should be implemented, maintained, and improved. If these are not being implemented, maintained, and improved, then we cannot get the improvement in our system. We will not get anything out of it. So that's why management system is very important to have in the companies. So all the company will go in one direction. They have the clear goals and objectives, and everyone will be working in this goal to achieve this objective, right? So then we have ISO 45000. Always remember 45000 is the series. When you are health and safety professional, anyone can ask you what does the mean of 45000. So always remember 45000 is the health and safety series by the ISO, which is dedicated for health and safety, right? Then we have 45001. What does this one stands for? This one is the requirement. When we say requirement, which means the auditable. When we say requirement, which means the mandatory clauses to follow. There could be a guideline, there could be a technical standard, there could be implementation guidelines. So these will not be the one. So when we are going to have an standard, and which completed with one, which means that it is a standard requirements. And then 2018 is the year of publication. So whenever you have the year, for example, for 9000 it is 2015, for environment we have 2015, but 45000 is the latest standard which has 2018 version available. 45001 was published in March 2018, and it was a long waited standard. There was a lot of requirement for health and safety standard with regards to ISO, because before ISO 45000 the companies were using British standard, BSI standard, which was OSAS 18001. So now this OSAS 18001 has been replaced by ISO 45001, and since 2018 the companies have timeline up to the March 2021 for 3 years to upgrade themselves on the requirement of ISO 45001. So this is a mandatory requirement for the companies who are having OSAS. Now they are having, they will be have, or they are already started to have the 45000. Always remember, any of the management system is not a mandatory requirement. It's a voluntary requirement, right? It's a voluntary requirement. It is your company own choice if they are going to follow this standard or not following this standard. It is not a mandate, but once you are going to adopt this standard, it becomes a mandatory requirement for you to follow. You cannot say that we are ISO 9000 or ISO 45000 certified, but sometime we follow the requirement and sometime we don't follow them. It is not the case. Whether to adopt or don't adopt. Once you adopt, now the clauses becomes the requirement which are mandatory to follow. And this 45000 standard is basically, as I told you, focusing on occupational health and safety. Occupation, which means workplace, where you are working. The place where you are working is the occupational, right? Health and safety, it is focusing on the health requirement as well as the safety requirement, basically to prevent the people from injury and ill health. So 45001 is a standard of ISO management system which focus on occupational health and safety systems, right? So now we will be discussing the clauses of 45000. Now all the standards after 2015, they are very symmetric to each other. If you have one standard in your company, you can adopt easily the other standard. For example, this standard has very good synchronization with other standards. For example, 14000, 9000, which is quality, 14000 for the environment. So once you are going to adopt one standard, you can apply the requirements for other standard as well. Many of the clauses are same. For example, policy, it is required by 45000, it is required by 9000, it is required by 14000. Objectives like internal audit, management review, performance measurement. So there are many clauses now in the standards. All of the standards, they are now following high level structure, and this high level structure gives you the guideline to have the 10 clauses. So almost the name of the clauses are same, but only the way we are going to think is different. So in 14000, we are focusing on the environment due to our activities and the processes, what will be the impact on environment. In 9000, we focus on the business requirements, and 45000 on the people, what will be the impact on the people. Before starting any of the standard, there is a cycle called PDCA cycle or Deming cycle. This was developed by Deming cycle during the Second World War, and it is still a very good applicable cycle. Or we can say that you will not find this cycle in any of the clauses like a requirement of a standard, but all the standards of ISO management system are being developed on the basis of this Deming cycle. And I used to say my clients that before starting the implementation of any standard, management system standard, you should first adopt the PDCA. This PDCA is basically plan, do, check, act, right? The initial clauses of standards are following the planning requirement. What is this PDCA? The plan, whenever we are going to implement any of the project or any of the system, we need to have the plan available. So then once we have a plan, we need to implement this. So it's a Japanese proverb that our plans do not fail. In fact, we are failed to plan. So we need to have a strong plan. That's why we have the departments called, we have the planning department available. Before 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there was no concept for planning. Now the companies, they have the planning department. Now the companies, they are hiring the project manager, the PMP professionals, because they are good in the planning. They know that they are professional in the planning, because they know that now they realize that if our plans are strong, if we have a good planning system, then the implementation will also be good, right? So the planning is the most important. Once we have the planning, then we need to implement. So this implement is basically do part. In our standard, the middle clauses like clause number 8 is the do part. While you are implementing your plan, there should be someone who is going to check if you are following the requirements according to the plan or not following the requirements according to the plan. So this is our check part. So that's why we have EHS or HSC department or the quality department. Their job is basically to check if the company is following the requirements or not following the requirements. Then we have act. Act means that improvement side. What are the improvement? Because when we are going to review our performance, when we are going to review our system, how we are going to implement these requirements, maybe it might be possible that there are some gaps available. There are some gaps available. There are some gray areas. There are some weak areas which are available. So in this case, we are going to improve ourselves, and this is also the intention of every management system to take you towards the act, right? So this PDCA, when you are going to have act, definitely you need to plan, right? You need to plan. So when you are going to plan, again, you will apply, somebody will check monitoring and measuring activities and act. So the initial clauses like 4, 5, 6, 7 clauses are falling in the plan. Clause number 8 is like do, clause number 9 is like check, and clause number 10 is the improvement part. So this PDCA is very important in our all aspects of life, in our industrial life, in our domestic life. We need to apply PDCA. So those people who are having good planning, they are always successful in their lives. So this PDCA is very important. Now we will discuss quickly about ISO 45000 standard. ISO 45000 standard, it has 10 clauses. Clause number 0, 1, 2, 3 are not the requirements, they are just for the reference. And in 0, it is defined that the introduction of a standard, that what is the purpose of this standard, like implementation of health and safety management system within your company. The scope means where this standard can be applied, on what sectors this can be applied. So this standard is a generic standard like 9000 and 14000 standard. We can apply this in any kind of industries, including warehouses, including companies, including oil and gas, including your shop, your superstore. You can apply it anywhere where the people are working, because this standard is mainly focusing on the health and safety of people. So I used to say that this standard can be applied for all, like Nai, Kasai, Halwai. You can apply this standard on the barber shop. You can apply this standard on the sweet shop. You can apply this standard on the butcher shop. So these are very generic standards. Our focus is to protect the people. Then there are normative references, that from where they have taken the reference, because as I told you initially that there is a technical committee who is involved in the development of this standard. So from wherever they are consisting of consultants, sector experts, very professional people, very experienced people. So from where they have taken the reference, they are going to write here that we have taken this requirement. What is a standard? A standard is basically the set of best practices. So whatever activities they have taken from the different companies, from the different consulting bodies, they are going to write these things in the normative references. And then we have clause number 3 called terms and definitions. This terms and definition is basically the very important to read this terms and definition before going to understand the standard, because this in standard there are many terminologies which are technical, which you cannot understand directly. So that's why these terms and definitions are included. So those terminologies which are being used in the standard, which are important to know and to get understanding, this is being defined here in terms and definition, right? Then we have clause number 4. Clause number 4 is basically from clause number 4 to 10 are the requirements which are mandatory to follow. So clause number 4 is like context of the organization. Context of the organization is here we are going to define what is the purpose of our organization, right? Why we are being established, what are our products, what are our services, what are our activities. So in the context of organization 4.1, we are going to define these things. And then we need to define what are the needs and expectations of our interested parties. When we say interested parties, we will be defining these interested parties as those parties having a stake in our company directly or indirectly. So this interested parties can be defined in two types, like internal interested parties and external interested parties. So internal interested parties, for example, our own employees, our top management, our company, uh, direct employees who are working with them, contractual employee, and external parties like our clients, our suppliers, our neighbors, the legal bodies. These are all our external interested parties. So we need to identify, with regards to health and safety, what are the needs and expectations. When we say needs, which means a mandatory thing. For example, when you're working in a company, it is a need uh, that you should be protected by all the hazards which are possibly to arise in your workplace. It is your need. And your expectations are that the company will do a setup on time and it will be effective all the time when we are working. So this is our expectation. The company is required to provide you the drinking water, the clean drinking water. The expectation is that to have the availability of water all the time whenever you need. So needs are the mandatory and expectations are not mandatory, but these are something to have additional, which can have the value addition in our existing system. So if you see on the bottom, there are some documents. So since we have limited time, we are not be able to show you the documents in actual, inshallah. In some other training, we will show you that what are the documents which are needed for each clause. But as required by the standard, this is the summary, that whenever you are going to apply these clauses, what are the documents. So after each slide, you will find that these documents at the bottom, right? These are the limited number of documents. Maybe there are more documents which are needed according to your system requirement, according to the complexity of the organization or the nature of work, right? So as required by the standard, you need to have the list of interested parties, needs and expectations available. You will define the scope. The 4.3 clause is about the scope, that where you are going to apply this standard, what are the sites and facilities which are coming in the scope of this standard. For example, your company has 5 offices at different location or 5 companies at different locations. So it might be possible that company will say that we will go gradually, and initially we'll go for the one site, and then we'll go for the second and third and fourth. So whatever sites, activities they are going to have in the scope of ISO 45000, you need to define it, right? It is very important, especially once we are going to implement these standards and we are going for the certification of our company through a third party. Then we have what are the occupational health and safety processes, how the health and safety processes are being implemented in our system, like our in the form of process flow. We need to define that for each process how we are going to implement the requirements of this management system standard. Then we have clause number 5. This clause number 5 is basically a very important clause, because this clause was not available in BS OSAS 18001. This is a new clause. Even 4 clause is also a new clause, but this is very important clause in such a way that it discuss about the workers. There are 2 requirements mainly in this clause. One clause, the 5.1, says that your company should have a strong leadership and commitment towards the health and safety of the system, because we know that if my top management is not committed to have a good system of health and safety, then we cannot have a good system. If they are not be able to provide us resources, if they are not be able to give us the authority, we cannot implement a good health and safety system. So this leadership clause defines that we need to have a active and a very aggressive management available, that who are sincere to the health and safety management system in the development and the implementation of these things. And before in OSAS, there was a management representative who was responsible for the implementation of a standard, but now they have excluded the requirement of management system, and now they say that the top management is directly responsible. The top management can divide their responsibility to the certain managers, for example, safety manager or HSC manager or IMS manager, but at the end of the day, they are the one who are accountable. Now during the audits, we are also doing the audits for the top management to check how much is their commitment and how they are involved in the overall health and safety system of the company. So then 5.2 is about the policy. We need to have the health and safety policy available. There are some requirements which are necessary to be the policy is what? Policy is basically the set of commitment which the organization is going to be defined. It is being approved by the top management. So what are the commitments which are being taken by the top management? Some of the requirement standard or the clause is has defined by itself, and you can include some more requirement. For example, prevention of injury and accident within the companies, following of legal requirements and other requirements which are applicable to your work, workers participation in the decisions making, like going for the continual improvement through application of this standard. These are some of the requirements which are being required in ISO 45000 standard clause 5.2. You should include in your policy. But other than these commitments, you can also include many other things, whatever you want. Then 5.3 defines the roles and responsibilities and authorities, which is also very important clause, because you need to have a clear organization chart available, which can define that how the requirements of these standards are going to be implemented, and how we are going to who is the responsible person. For example, what are the requiremements towards top management, director's responsibility in terms of health and safety, manager's responsibility, HSE manager responsibility, and different people who are working in our company, all key responsible company, um, the shareholders, we need to define in our this clause of organization roles and responsibilities. And one of the way to define this, to have the organization chart and to have the uh, our job descriptions. So we can define these responsibilities in our organization chart, and we can define these activities in the job description of our key personnel. And then we have that clause called 5.4, which is the participation, right? Participation and consultation, a new clause, because a very good example I can say that, for example, you have been invited in my home, and I will say that since you are my guest, I want your health, so I will give you apple. But in your mind that you are thinking that I will treat you with the broast or with the biryani or with some sort of all basic dishes which you have in your mind, right? But when you come to my home, and I will put some apples in front of you, and I'll say, since I'm very much conscious about you, so I will keep these apples for you. So just take this apple. So once you will eat first apple, and then if you are like me, you will say, no, thank you so much. I have some work, I have to go. But then I will insist, these apples are very good for your health, so you should take this one more apple. So it might be possible that you will take one more apple, and after that one more apple, but uh, due to the courtesy, but by your heart, you don't like these things to be more and more, and you are taking this due to the courtesy, because you respect me and you are going to give me honor that since you have invited, so we are going to listen to you. So what will be the impact of this apple in your body? This apple is not going to give you the energy, rather it will more burn your blood, because you are not taking this from your own consent or from your own choice. You have been forced to do this activity. So similarly, when we are going to implement the system in our company, and this system or this kind of PPEs which we are going to use in the company, we did not discuss or consult with our workers, then they will not be following these safety requirements by heart. They will not be following these safety requirements from uh, from their hearts. And maybe when we have seen many times that when the safety manager is coming, they are going to have very good compliance. Once the safety officer or safety manager is going to pass away, then they are going to remove their PPEs. So this is very important to have this clause whenever we are going to discuss the requirements of health and safety. It's better to get the consultation with the workers representative rather than enforce them all the time. Then we have clause 6, which is the planning. In this clause, the standard requires you to identify all the hazards which are applicable to your workplace, and then to develop the objectives and planning. Objectives and planning, when we are going to develop the objectives, the most important thing is the plan. Before the clause was objective and target, but now the clause is like objectives and planning, because planning, as we already discussed, is very important for the to achieve your objective. So your objective should be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, and realistic and time bound. So after identification of hazards, then we have the clause number 7 called support. All your resources which are needed for the health and safety system are being covered in this clause. The competence of the people needed for the implementation of the good health and safety system, what are the trainings and awareness needed for the implementation of good health and safety system, internal and external communication, and how you are going to develop the policies and procedures. This is being discussed in clause number 7.4, 7.5. So support clause, it's all like whatever the tools you are needing to have a good system. For example, the competence of people, the training requirements, the communication, how we are going to communicate within our company, and what are the resources available to have a good health and safety system. So this is our clause number 7, and these clauses, you can see that we need to have the documented and approved policy available, organization chart available, job description, objectives and planning available. How we are going to get the participation of workers, we need to have the mechanism available for their feedback, we need to do the risk assessment, and we need to keep the record of external communication. So this is our clause number 7. Now let's move to the clause number 8, which is now operations. This is our do clause. Before the clauses were in the P. Now this is the do. So whatever hazards we have identified in clause number 6, now it's time to apply the control on these hazards. So that's why we need to apply hierarchy of control. If you remember, hierarchy of control, like how you are going to think about application of control. For example, starting from elimination of hazard, right? Substitution of hazards, engineering control, administrative control, safe system of work, then PPEs. PPE is the last control. Unfortunately, many of us, they think that PPE is the first control. So whenever we are going to identify the hazard, we first focus on the hazard rather than we are going to focus on the PPE rather than we are going to focus on the elimination, substitution, and engineering control. So whatever hazards you have identified in clause number 6, you can do this activity in one chart. For example, activity, hazard, the likelihood, and then the rating and the rating of risk assessment, and then apply controls. So this can be done in one format or one form as well. Then we have management of change, which is a new clause. Whenever you are going to change any of the requirements of health and safety system, you need to apply this management of change system, and this should be a controlled procedure. Then we have the procurement clause. For example, whoever is working on within our company and on behalf of our company, we need to have the procurement department. We need to focus through procurement. For example, by putting the safety requirement in their agreements, in their POs, purchase orders, or putting the requirements into your purchasing documents. So before they are going to come in your company and they are going to start performing within your company, they should be protected. So then we have the emergency preparedness and response clause, very important clause, because nowadays we already have one. We are all passing through one of the emergency, which is COVID-19. So this clause says that we need to identify all possible emergencies. We need to develop the program in case if this emergency is going to happen, how we are going to manage with this emergency. Then we have to establish the responsibilities. We need to define the roles and responsibilities, that who will be our rescue team, who will be our firefighting team, who will be the first aid team, who will be the evacuation team. So these all things we are going to define in our emergency preparedness and response procedure. And then the most important thing is to make the drill for our possible emergencies. So at the time of real emergency, the people will not get fear. The people will not get afraid of evacuation. So emergency preparedness and response, I will again identify the possible emergencies, develop the program, divide the responsibilities, and the last thing is to check. In many of the countries, it's a legal requirement that you need to carry out the full evacuation drill or the fire drill minimum twice in a year or once a year. So we need to follow our legal requirements and our own company policies and procedures. Then we have performance evaluation. Definitely, whenever we are going to implement, then we need to check. This is a check requirement which shows the performance evaluation. Monitoring and measurement in terms of our compliance, how our legal compliance are going to be implemented, how our calibration status, what are the requirements for calibration or the maintenance, which are safety critical equipment. This doesn't mean that we are going to monitor and calibrate all the the pressure gauges or the temperature gauges or whatever instrument we have. We need to focus here only those uh, equipment, instrument which can have the impact on safety, right? Which can have the impact on health and safety of the people. For example, the gauge which is installed on the boiler is very important for us. Maybe it is not important for the quality purpose, because if this gauge is not going to give you the correct reading about the steam pressure, then our boiler can be burst, right? There could be a big blast. So this is very important for us. So those gauges which are on the machineries, which are going to give you the counting or such kind of quality parameter, these are not necessary in terms of 45,000 to calibrate and maintain all the time. One of the way to do the performance evaluation is the management review and internal audit. In internal audit, you are doing the audits for different department. Each department is doing the audit for another department, and then we are going to have management review, where we are going to see all the overall performance of the company, that how the performance of the company is going to be, uh, how our company is going to perform. This will be done by the help of top management. Then we have the improvement part. In improvement part, we are going to define that what is the overall improvement in our company, right? What is the overall improvement by means of a top management? And we need to see that, because all the fruit of any of the management system is the improvement. So if we are not be able to have the improvement in our company due to the management system, which means that we are not be able to implement the management system in a true sense, right? Sorry. So how this standard is going to be implemented? There are definitely, as I told you, the first thing is the commitment from the top management. If they are not serious in the implementation of this standard, they cannot be implemented throughout the company. We need to train our people, because sometimes we are going to have the knowledge from one, from one another. This is also one of the way, but we need to understand the standard first. We need to have the team leader available. We need to have the team member available, those who can get trained on ISO 45000 standard, and then they will be spreading throughout the companies to implement this, to establish the requirement of this standard. After that, after having the team, the understanding, you need to see where are we standing now, how many clauses we are implementing with our existing system. It might be possible you are implementing 100%, it might be possible you are implementing 50%, 40%, 20%. So no worries about that. This gap analysis will give you the exact picture, that against each clause we need to see that what are the actions of our companies. So after that, we will be establishing the project plan and the responsibility, that what are the responsibilities of people to fulfill these gaps. And definitely we need to spread the awareness. We need to have a full what do you call it, campaign for the implementation or the development of these management system, which we can spread throughout the companies by means of communication channels, by means of, for example, meetings, notice boards, awareness sessions, toolbox talks. These are some of the channels. What are the major challenges in the implementation of 45,000? As we can see that one of the challenges is the not support from the top management, because they don't understand. They are not the expert of safety. So it is our responsibility as a safety professional that we should guide them. We should take them up to the standard. Organization culture, sometimes the organizations are old and they don't have any system, so you will face much challenge here, because the people, they are having mindset that, oh, what will be the impact of this safety, or since you are new in the organization, so what will you do? That's why we can have the impact on organizational culture. And weak legislation is also very, sometimes it plays a role. In many countries there are legislations available which are very weak, or sometimes there are no legislations available. So nobody is going to ask the top management if there is any lacking in the health and safety system. So that's why top management, they don't focus. Overconfidence of workforce. Sometimes you will get the challenge that I'm working in this organization for last 25 years, or I'm doing this activity for last 10 years. I didn't get any accident, so why should I follow your safety? You are a new child in our companies and you are going to teach us. So there are many accidents which are causing due to the overconfidence. So there are some international qualifications in health and safety which are available, which you can attend from any of the international training provider. You can also join our company a training center for this purpose as well. We have almost all these courses like Highfield, the UK based qualification. OSH Academy is like American based qualification. IOSH is also UK based. IRCA lead order course for 45,000 to understand the, to get the expertise of 45,000. Then we have NIBOSH, HSW, IGC diploma. And finally, if you want to get more success in this health and safety, so you should go for the MSc or the PhD in health and safety. So there are a number of qualifications available. These are some of the most demanding qualification in Asian and Middle East countries. So you can you can select any of the qualification according to your existing level of knowledge, and you can go upgrade up to second level. These qualifications are also, you can combine these qualification with your existing qualification. For example, if you are already an engineer or the bachelor's with your own current field, you can go for the quality courses, for the health and safety courses. And definitely when you have less experience, you are fresh, you have 1, 2 or 3 years of experience, and the company, they need someone to have a young engineer. So they are going to see what are the other advantages can we get from apart from your basic qualification. So if you will be doing these international courses apart from your academic qualification, so definitely you will get the edge as compared to other of your classmates or the class fellows who are having the same qualification, but you will have the uh, international qualifications available within your CV. And these courses are also going to help you in the immigration process to UK, USA, Australia, and New Zealand. So these are very popular courses. And now we will give you some time to ask the question and answer. I hope our host can ask the questions. And this is my channel and my company channel. For you can subscribe, you can just write on your YouTube and Facebook HSEQ Professional, so you will get the channel or the page available, and also the website. You can see the link here. And we are most welcome to all of you anytime, whenever you need any support, whenever you need any assistance. We are available from the platform of QA Learning Hub and from the platform of HSEQ Professional as well. As I hope you have enjoyed the session, and thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate, and I hope you will be uh, applying whatever you have learned, because without application, all the information is useless. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the host, and thank you so much to the QA Learning Hub for inviting me for this webinar, and all the best for you.
Thank you so much, Sir Anas, for your valuable time. The session was very well delivered. Thank you so much. I hope you all enjoyed the session. Now be attentive. This is the attendance time. Kindly mark your attendance